My name's Dave DeVoe. I was a responding firefighter on December 6th, 1991. The call came in, and when we arrived on scene, heavy smoke was visible. Looked like it was coming from the backside of the I Can't Believe It's yogurt shop. I didn't know if there was somebody in the building or not. As soon as I got to the back storage room, it was completely blackened out with smoke. And my lieutenant was pointing down, and I looked down, and there was a girl's body. I stood up and found another one. Then there was another girl. The ceiling had kind of dropped down on them, and they were covered up.
The firefighters are shocked to discover that there are people that have been caught in the building. But then they notice something even more alarming.
They had all been shot. And the state the girls were in, they were naked. So there was nothing else to think other than there was foul play.
My name is John Jones. I'm the original investigator on the yogurt shop murders. The three of the girls were stacked together.
The last one was maybe another 10 feet away from where I found the initial one.
I thought because they were nude, maybe they were sexually assaulted.
After all 4 bodies are swabbed at the scene, they're released to the medical examiner and transported to the morgue. Meanwhile, the police speak to the manager of the yogurt shop and learn that 2 17-year-old girls, Eliza Thomas and Jennifer Harbison, were working that night.
Money was taken, $540.
The placement of cleaning supplies throughout the yogurt shop indicated that perhaps their closing procedure was interrupted.
The police determined the 4 girls were probably shepherded into the storage room. It seems they were made to take off their clothes.
One of the ways that you control young kids, and particularly young females, is to strip them down.
Then it seems they were forced to kneel. They were gagged and tied up with their own underwear.
Once the girls had been tied up, the perpetrator could have completed the robbery and left, but that's not what happened.
We think the perpetrator just panicked and shot the girls.
And the perpetrator set the place on fire, presumably to get rid of any evidence.
There was no accelerant. The fire was started by paper products, napkins and such that were right there next to them on a shelf. The swabs that DPS gathered and then analyzed indicated sexual assault.
DNA from multiple males is discovered on the swabs of 17-year-old Jennifer Harbison, 15-year-old Sarah Harbison, and 13-year-old Amy Ayers, but not Eliza Thomas.
That told us there had to be at least 2 perpetrators there.
But because DNA technology is still in its infancy and the bodies were consumed by fire, then doused with water, all the lab can really decipher is that the profiles are male. Jones and his team go to work trying to figure out who the final customer was that night.
We had gone on TV asking for anybody that was in that yoga shop to come forward.
One couple that had purchased frozen yogurt around 10:45 p.m. tell cops about 2 males that they had seen in the shop.
I'm Carlos Garcia, and I'm a defense lawyer in Austin, Texas. The witness says there was 2 men seated behind me. They were kind of hunched over, hooded, talking really quietly. When we left, they were still there.
Another customer named Lucilla described the boys as teenagers. They were white, between 5'4" and 5'7".
And she described them as wearing puffy vests or jackets and wearing boots and jeans. One was thin, one not so thin.
Several customers also talked about seeing a Latino man inside a light-colored American car.
A young man named Maurice Pierce was at North Cross Mall. when he put his shirt aside and showed somebody that he had this gun. The person who he showed it to got in touch with the security guard. The security guard came and took the gun from Maurice, who was only 17.
We had let everybody know in the law enforcement community we were looking for a 380 and a 22. Maurice at a 22.
As a result of getting caught with his gun, Maurice Pierce gets taken to the juvenile center in Austin, Texas. Sometime around 11 o'clock, a police detective began to interrogate Pierce.
Police learn that Maurice was driving around with 3 of his buddies the night of the 6th. Forrest Wellborn, Robert Springsteen, and Michael Scott.
Springsteen, Scott, and Pierce are all 17 and attend McCallum High School with 15-year-old Forrest Wellborn. During the interview, police turn the conversation to the murders, and what Maurice Pierce has to say shocks everyone.
I got a call that Maurice Pierce was confessing, and I went down to the station and I interviewed him. During that interview, Maurice Pierce indicated that Forrest Wellborn, Robert Springsteen, and Michael Scott were with him that night, and they were the ones that went inside the yoga shop and committed that robbery/homicide and set it on fire. But Maurice did not implicate himself in the yoga shop case other than that he was the wheelman.
So the police talked to Michael Scott and Robert Springsteen. And they said, look, we're not involved in this crime. They talked about on Friday night, they had been at the mall, they saw the fire trucks. At some point, Maurice Pierce went to a car lot and he steals a car. And the 4 of them head off to San Antonio on a joyride in a stolen car.
With Scott and Springsteen putting themselves near the scene of the crime that night, police send Pierce's .22 caliber firearm in for ballistics testing, and then they turn their attention to the youngest of the group, Forrest Wellborn.
We actually wired up Maurice. He went and talked to Forrest Wellborn. The idea was to try to get Forrest to talk about the crime and his participation in it.
Together, Maurice and Forrest go to a laundromat known as the Washateria. And Maurice tries to get Forrest to talk about what happened that night.
Forrest doesn't seem to understand what Maurice is talking about. He's trying to go along with the conversation, but he's definitely not confessing to murder.
It was pretty obvious listening on the wire to us anyway that Forrest didn't have anything to do with it.
Because the 2 DNA profiles found during the autopsy are incomplete, police can't test the boys' DNA against them for a match.
All the grooves on the bullets that are fired from Pierce's .22 revolver are very sharp, and Pierce's revolver was fairly new. When you compare it to the bullets that were extracted from the girls' bodies, those bullets were fired by a gun that appeared to be old.
The DPS firearms lab said, we can't tie this gun to the crime scene. So all we had really was what Maurice was saying, but there wasn't enough to charge anybody. So we had nothing.
Then on August 31st, 1999, the FBI had developed a new criminal profile to help detectives find a suspect in this case. And the profile had the following descriptions. The offenders were young, disorganized. They would have left town after the killings.
Austin PD are immediately reminded of the 4 boys from 1991 who, at that time, had told police they'd stolen a car and gone joyriding in San Antonio.
So Maurice Pierce, young, disorganized, he picks up Wellborn, Springsteen, and Scott, and they left town sometime between the night of the murders and the next morning. So it all fits in these 4 guys.
Since being investigated nearly 8 years ago, Maurice Pierce has been working at a warehouse in Texas, and he has a 7-year-old daughter. Forrest Wellborn has opened an auto repair business. Michael Scott is married and has been working repair jobs. And Robert Springsteen has since moved to West Virginia, gotten married, and is the manager of a McDonald's.
Because of their behavior that night, all four guys were brought in and questioned. Springsteen was questioned in West Virginia.
Austin Police Department got nowhere with Pierce, and nowhere with Wellborn, and nowhere with Robert Springsteen. However, over the course of the next 5 days, there's this incredible interrogation of Michael Scott that ends up with him confessing.
I'm not trying to cover anything up, Kai. You never shot those girls? No. You never killed them? No. You sure? Yeah. You guys both got me worried that Robert or Maurice had said something about me that
that's
has implicated me.
Michael,
in
what do you
something
think what do you think they're going to do? They're rap. What do you think they're going to tell us?
Find the easiest scapegoat.
That's exactly
And
right.
I was the nice guy.
You were the nice guy.
Scott was questioned for about 22 hours total. His testimony began with, I don't know what you guys are talking about.
Is that the gun you shot somebody with, Mike? I don't. Is that the gun you walked up behind somebody with and shot in the head?
And finally he said, yes, I did that.
You did that, didn't you? Yes, sir.
What did you do? I shot him.
After Michael Scott confesses, the Austin police use his confession against Robert Springsteen, who then also confesses. Soon, all four men are arrested.
My name is Tony Diaz. I'm a defense attorney in Austin, Texas. Forrest had a very fine lawyer, and they were helping him at that early stage. And so they did not prosecute him because they had no case, no evidence.
Maurice Pierce, the person who had the 22, was also questioned, but they could not find evidence that connected him either.
After 3.5 years of searching for hard evidence to connect the boys to the case, police have nothing. So the Austin DA dismisses the charges against Pierce and Wellborn, leaving only 2 defendants.
I'm Judge Mike Lynch, and I was the trial judge in both the yogurt shop trials. The bulk of the case against each defendant was their own confessions. The defense filed a motion claiming that Springsteen's confession was coerced and therefore false.
Robert Springsteen was found guilty and given the death penalty. Mike Scott was then tried.
Scott's trial starts in September of 2002, and just like Springsteen, Scott claims that his confession was coerced.
Michael Scott was interrogated on September the 9th of 1999. He was interrogated over 5 days, and the crucial part of Michael Scott's interrogation is that first day. This is when all the bad stuff happens. What I'm referring to is the Reed technique. The Reed technique is an infamous, if you will, interrogation method that can get false confessions from people. It's very simple. I'm going to accuse you first that I know you committed the crime. You're cornered. You cannot get out. And the one thing that saves you is to confess. Over the course of the next 5 days, they write the confession for him and he signs off on it.
This is absurd that this serves to prove somebody committed a murder.
The defense tries to counter Scott's own statement.
When we went to a trial, the legal strategy was to compare the confession to the crime scene and show how it did not fit. For example, there's a back room where the murders happened. He makes all the action happen behind the cash register area. So it's not matching up.
Despite the defense doing its best to negate Michael Scott's own confession, he's found guilty. Springsteen's case appeals automatically, and Scott's lawyers file an appeal as well. And the attorneys for both men are arguing that their Sixth Amendment rights were violated because co-conspirators' confessions were allowed in the case.
So the judge told the district attorney, you have to come up with a new case. You can't use the confessions.
For the next 3.5 years, while Scott and Springsteen remain in prison, prosecutors delay motions for a new trial. Male DNA profiles have always been present on the vaginal swabs, but it isn't until technology advances in 2008 that the police can retest the swabs. And they are thrilled when out of the 2 partial profiles discovered in 1991, one actually comes back as a complete DNA profile this time.
So the police took DNA samples from the boys.
They compare the profile to the profiles of the 4 men.
It showed that none of the guys who had been arrested were involved.
All of a sudden on TV, I see the district attorney, and she says, we're gonna drop the case, we're not gonna prosecute them.
Authorities then run the DNA profile through CODIS, hoping for a match, but unfortunately there isn't one, and the case goes cold. 32 years later, the yogurt shop case remains unsolved.
The only way this case will ever be solved is to start from scratch. We know that the witness in this yogurt shop says there was 2 men seated behind me. When we left, they were still there. Just about every single customer came in to give a statement, except for 2. Where are their statements? Who are they? So when you find those 2 guys, the DNA is going to match. Very simple.